Okay, so which one of this one was sent a while ago, so this is pretty much where I want to start. I'm going to run through these really quickly. Basically, you know that the face has vertical and horizontal lines on it, and the face, naturally, even at the skeletal level, has symmetry lines on it that are really important to follow because the face is symmetrical. It's the same on either side. So when you have something that is the same on either side, rotate, you have to preserve that symmetry. What did I just say? I want you all to type it back to me. And I want to see more people typing today. I want to see more people involved because it's not, if you're here to learn. You're not really here to have fun. I don't know what kind of class is ever fun. But anyway, I want you guys to type. And I want you guys to type back to me. And I want you to show me that you're listening to me because when I say a certain combination of words, I really went through a lot just to come up with those words, just so that it could be the most easy to understand. So look, when I say type it back to me, those are the things I really want you to think about because it took me a great amount of mental power to come up with a way to summarize, something so complicated in just a couple of words. So I want you guys to sink all that in like sponges. And so you all typed it back to me. When the face rotates, you have to preserve the symmetry. It's difficult for a normal human being who is normal to rotate something in their mind. Our minds are not a 3D modeling program, so it's very difficult for us to rotate a shape in it. And this is the greatest difficulty that all students face. However, there are helping tools that will help you because they're helpful. And they are the vertical and horizontal lines on a face. And they help us realign the face back to where it's supposed to be. So this is a little bit off. I'm going to take it on one eye. So the biggest issue in this image is where this eye is right now. This eye here is not measured. And right here. This eye here is not measured along these lines. You see this line and this line do not, I don't even know if these lines are perfect, but just using the most, okay, let me just try to get it to compress as well. Just using the most rough lines that try to go through every one of these features, you can see that there is some serious symmetry issues happening. There are some serious symmetry issues. Look at the nose, the corners of the lips, the edges of the eyes. All of these are issues that are not forgivable, that they are not a preservation of the symmetry at the skeletal level. When you don't follow the rules of the skeleton, the face is going to get challenged. If you guys paint a face and don't think about the skeleton, you're not painting a face. You're just painting whatever your mind has projected as a symbol, and you're trying to render it and make it, come off as real or come off as good looking. If you guys don't think about why a face is what it is, if you don't think about the fact that it needs to function in order for us to believe it's real, meaning think about the skeletal structure, then we're not going to be able to appreciate your image, and you're not going to be successful in your rendering if you don't think about the skeletal structure, if you don't think about the function. And can anyone tell me what I mean when I say function? Does anyone understand what I mean? Does anybody know what I mean when I say the function of the face? Form equals function. Function also equals something else, Catero. Does anyone know what it is? So right now I'm just trying to push this eye down back towards this line. The line is in my mind. It's always stuck there. It's never going to leave. So I'm just trying to balance these eyes along here. Form follows function. The eyes, the skin, and the face have to look like they can function, like the eyes need to look like it can turn. Exactly. The mouth is actually built into the form of the skull. It has to make sense as a working human face like in real life. Exactly, guys. The parts of the face that work. That's what function means, but what I mean is anatomy. What are the actual labelable parts you can label as parts that are involved in the function? So if you think about a nose, a nostril is part of the function. If you don't define the nostril as one of the dark spots, you're not going to relate to the believability. There's not going to be believability to relate to because there's not going to be any function. So you have to think about really think about what I'm saying right now. Which features of the features carry the function of that image, of that object, of whatever it is? What carries the function of the nose? What carries the function of the mouth? what is really responsible for making a mouth feel like it can move. So all of that is what I mean by what happens when you measure properly. It's just one big crazy circus, and if you skip anything, you will not be successful in your rendering. If you skip measuring, just forget about it. Forget that there will be an opportunity for you somewhere soon that you'll catch the problem and fix it. No, it's too late. If you skip the measurement, it's already too late. You're not going to see it 5 hours in. And if you do see it 5 hours in, unfortunately for you, you're going to have to paint over all that detail that you did in those last 5 hours. You have to measure. That's just the rule. Don't wait for tomorrow. Don't wait for when you're good to measure. Measure now. It doesn't matter what level you're at. What level you are on. It's not good to end a sentence with that. Doesn't matter what. Let me try to do that better. It doesn't matter which level of art you are in. You will still benefit from the measurement. Okay, so I'm just trying to measure, and I'll show you guys the before and after. I didn't paint. I didn't change her paint. I didn't change anything. Also, one big thing for you, whoever drew this, it was a sweet email actually from someone. You have to give a little bit of a bulge here. You can't just make it a straight line. It's going to feel really weird. You have to throw some fat in there so it feels like a real face that has fat padded in. If it's straight, it's not going to feel like a real face. It's going to feel like you cut it up. So before, after. Before, after. I kind of changed the features of her eyes. So one of her eye features was that she had really high cat eyes. You can still change that, but you have to make sure you change it symmetrically. She had a bit of a higher chin. I just had to tuck that in with the lips. All of these things are not going to affect your painting in a bad way. Measuring is going to create real believability. So before, after. Oh, I kind of got rid of her smile. Let me bring her smile back in. I was just trying to balance the corners. Okay, what are you guys saying? Istebrak, sometimes when trying to measure, I wonder if I've made my lines properly and if they are showing me what is actually wrong. What you have to do first, Shauna, is you have to draw the vertical line and then draw the horizontal lines on top. And it's a very general thing. And remember, eyes aren't always going to be perfectly symmetrical to each other. There are going to be flaws. My eyes are not symmetrical to each other, and that's normal because it's not manufactured in by some sort of computer. Because of that, you're going to have those organic mistakes happening, and that's fine. But you have to have a general measurement tool that you can trust to have at least the most minimal level of proportion to it. So what you got to do is treat this as a spherical object, or treat it as a form structure, meaning decide on the face proper, and then the core shape behind it, and then how they connect back to each other. That's sort of the way that I draw faces, which is a sphere and then a rectangle sort of coming out of it, and then I just connect them back however I want to do the neck, or however I want to do anything with this face. And I just connect it back, knowing that I have this, at least this geometry will help me decide on the trustable geometry of the vertical line. So I got a good vertical line after like 17 tries. And then after that, it's just a matter of remembering the tilt. Are we looking up or down at the person? Looking up at the person means the tilt has to look down. And then everything else just has to measure according to that. The eyes and the nose line is where the ear hovers, and make sure not to make the lip line too far out. Close everything back together again. And I have a video on how to compress, which is basically just choosing the length and then compressing all along the lips. This line is too low. And that's sort of how you keep the measurements. And using this line here decides the either side of the lip for you. And how to compress everything. Everything is dependent upon this vertical line. This is step one. You can't draw the horizontal lines before the vertical line, because this is the most important part of the symmetry. We don't have symmetry horizontally. Like, you don't have two eyes and then a nose half and then a nose half and two eyes again. The only place you actually have a symmetry line is on the vertical line right here. So that's the line that you draw first. So that's the lesson. And let me just brush through the critiques real quick so that everyone gets a bit. March down. Before, after. The face feels a lot more real. Please be careful with your lines. You do not need a line. Sometimes you guys just throw in a line because you don't know what to do with that empty space. You don't need a line there. Sometimes you don't need anything there. Sometimes the nostril is not visible. And that's, again, that's me saying that you guys, the majority of you have a rotation problem. And it's okay, because it's not like our frickin' education system and school system taught us what real facial symmetry is when we were in our art classes. We were studying primary colors and all that useless garbage. You'd think they'd have taught you a little bit of how to draw a face realistically. But they're useless scumbags. So they're not going to teach you anything actually useful to you. So none of us have an acquaintanceship with rotation. None of us have a real experience rotating a 3D object in our mind. We never really got that deep into art class. They gave us the most topical little brush over. Alright, so that's a couple extra changes I threw over. You don't need that line. Sometimes throwing in some light, that's just simply what's happening with the face. If you use a reference, you gotta submit your reference in. If you didn't use a reference, then just keep going with this. Careful with the teeth. Don't over-define the teeth. The teeth you have are a bit messy here. Don't over-define them. Alright. Oh, fuck, I didn't save it. I've been doing that all day. What the hell is wrong with me? I didn't save the... Son of a bitch. Son of a fucking bitch. I'm sorry. I didn't save it. It's not like I've been giving them back. I'm so sorry about my swearing. Okay, so I'll deal with this. This is more sculpting. This is more proportion. This is another line problem here. So you guys saw where I drew those lines. Now I'm just going to be adjusting. Oopsie. Wait, I need to shrink this eye. I'm just going to be adjusting around the line. So I'm just imagining where the line sits. The nose in between that line, so that nose has to be symmetrical. She is not in a severe three-quarter view. Her eyes deviating and rotating completely away from the rest of the face. So the first and most important thing to determine in symmetry, guys, is the eyes. Get the eyes down on the vertical line. Everything else after that is easy to measure because you have to know where the eyes are to throw in the nose. So I'm measuring the nose now. And after I've fixed the eyes and the nose, cover with your monitors, cover the lip for a quick second and just look at the nose and the eyes. They're all symmetrical at this point. So everybody good? Everybody doing that? And then now uncover the lips and you see how far off they are. So that's why you have to start with the eyes first, because any asymmetry there will cascade down to the rest of the eye. Rest of the face. So I'm just fixing the symmetry here, and I'll show you the before and after in a second. Okay, also what I mentioned in the critique that I wrote for you is don't make this white of the eye too strong, or the pink of the eye too strong. It'll break the core shadow, and that's you're damaging the form there. The eyeshadow, do not mistake the eyeshadow for the actual shades of the face. The face has to be a little bit more sculpted. And please, if you don't know what to do with your lines, if you're just going to leave your lines there, just don't use them. And if you don't know what to do with your lines, paint over them. Get them out of the way. This line is flattening the face that you've drawn. And I need to get this shade over here because the face is a 3D object. Remember, get the eyes down first. and then worry about all the other features. So I'm just throwing in the core shadow here. You also have a really confused skin palette, but I'm just going to leave you to it. It's kind of stylistic and it works a little. So this gets sharper down here. Kind of thins out over there. I'm just going to lighten everything else in uniform. Alright, so let's look at the before. The face is a little bit out of symmetry. I'm just going to remove this excess right here, just so that you can focus on the face. Actually, I need to jump into liquify because that line was adding more information on the edge. You don't needed it. You don't need it. You didn't need it because it was doing the job that the edge was supposed to be doing. It was trying to do. You had two things on the same job. And that's how you know you don't know you're dealing with form. If you knew what form was, if you gave it a name, you know that's all you would need, the edge, and that was it. But you guys depend on your lines. Your lines won't save you. I can't really correct the colors. What I can do is just try to balance them out a little. You have random pinks everywhere. Try to balance your colors a little bit better. Okay. And let me just sharpen this. Sorry guys, I'm not looking at the chat. I'll look at it in 1 second. So if you guys ask questions that I didn't see, just ask again and I'll catch them. Alright, so everybody ready? Before, after. It was such a beautiful painting and you skipped measuring because, well, you just didn't have time for measuring. Why don't you guys have time for measuring? I don't get it. It's 2 seconds. It gets me mad because I see such beautiful paintings like this and I see these mistakes that don't have to be there. Before, it's completely warped. After, the symmetry, you've sacrificed a lot of the symmetry. And then you guys, ask me, well, what's wrong with my image? Or there's something wrong with my image. It's going to be the same corrections I'm always going to say. Because you guys are going to keep making the same mistake. Go to the core principles first. If after you've done all the principle choices, you've made all the principle choices, you've added all the fundamentals, you've gone through the list of stuff that you have to check, then come to me with a critique and say, well, I don't know what it is, I'm stumped. But if it's something as simple as measurement, that's you being lazy, that's you not doing your job. You have to measure. There is science and art. If you guys think there isn't, then maybe this isn't the craft for you. If you really want to be serious about improving it and you want to move forward, you have to realize there are some things you have to do in order to get a work. And that means you have to understand your reference and its function and its anatomy. We are scientists, basically. Before, after. Really unfortunate that this face had to be so warped. Just pushing everything back towards the line. It's really difficult to paint over something already kind of finished. Alright, so please remember these rules. For me, it's because I'm not sure my measuring will save me, so I don't do it because I'm a trash bag. I will do that tonight on the thing I was doing. I will do that to see if it shows me what's wrong because I know there's stuff going on with it. Her hair needs to be pushed back too. Her left ear, our right, seems to be rotated towards us. Yeah, that is true. You're not a trash bag, Shauna. You're just a student. It's a struggle. Painting is a struggle, and it's not easy. But there are things that make it easy, and we just forget about them because we don't have faith in them. And then you guys see me do them and you're like, ooh, how'd you do it? And I'd show you exactly how I do it, and that's the way to go. Just depend on the basics. Basics will take you to where you need to be. Take your painting to where it needs to be. Yes. For this one, it's just a really quick fix. The perspective is completely off. The nose is on a completely different perspective than the rest of the face. What you need to do is just push down on the nose and then throw some of it into 3/4 view. And then after you've done that, stop trying to draw the nose. You don't need to draw the sides of the nose for us to believe that this person is looking down at us. Sometimes the nose just doesn't have shadows around it, and that's okay. You don't have to overdraw the sides of the nose. Please don't do it anymore. Balance the lips, balance the corners of the eyes. After we've fixed the eyes, it's easy to fix everything else. The nostrils, the lip corners, and the chin. And the neck seems really muscular. So I'm not sure what reference you use, but you need to, good job copying the rest of the body though. But you need to make the head a little bigger. So you see the width of the neck, the over compression, and the nose being on a completely different perspective line. We saw too much of the nose than that perspective allowed. And then here's some more measuring and some more issues. The eyes are not the same size. You have shadows on this eye that aren't on this eye, but it seems like the light is pretty symmetrical. If the light is top down, then the shadows are going to be symmetrical too. You have way too much of a space between the between the lower eyelid and the eye. It's just too big a space. Decrease that space. It's usually the other way around. It's the upper eyelid that has more space, and the lower eyelid has the less amount of space. I don't know if this is allowed, but could you take a look at my Facebook page and tell me what are my main problems? That's a pretty big request. I'm just looking at specific paintings right now. If you have something that you know you have issues with, just send it over, one painting, and I'll try to take a look at it. I'm so afraid to not draw lines, shadows for the nose. Why, Wilhelms? Tell me. Tell me why you're afraid. Because I know you are. I know you guys have anxiety. I know you guys have like this fear of drawing, of letting go, of not drawing what's not visible, of obsessing over stuff that the lines used to work so well for. When you guys shifted over from lines to painting, you're like, shit, why did I do this? Lines were just good. I should have just been happy where I was. I shouldn't have shifted over from lines. Lines were doing so well for me. Why did I shift over? So right now, I'm just adding some basic core shadows. The reasons why you guys have anxiety is because you once had an over-dependency on lines. Sometimes just defining the problem, even before like a prognosis, just finding what the problem might be in your painting is a step forward. Just identifying. Say, I am Istebrak and I have a lot, not actually say my name, like say your name, like, you know, Alcoholics Anonymous. I am Wilhelm and I have a line addiction. And that'll be the step towards improvement. Enter a 12-step program. Hi, Flicks. You really help me if you see a car and draw the other wheel on the far side. Yeah, by moving it up so people can see it. I remember that, Shauna. Because I always ruin noses. This is Wilhelm's answer. He is afraid of drawing lines because he always ruins noses. Sometimes I keep measuring and remeasuring and it doesn't work and I can't see why, and then I miss using the lines. Exactly. This Wilhelm, his confession has revealed all of you. This is the same confession you should all be saying, that he's got the courage and balls to say it and none of you do. So what you guys are doing right now is you're depending on the line. And the line is making you think, okay, here, oh my god, it's a nose. Holy shit, if I were to draw a nose, I would draw a nose like this. This is how all of you draw noses. Admit it. This is how all of you draw noses. And when you start painting, well, I know, now I have to start painting. Now I have to start rendering. So let me just throw a big fat brush over all the lines I already drew. Look up a couple tutorials. Yeah, these tutorials will work over my already drawn lines. These tutorials will solve all my problems. I feel like painting some more. Let me just hover paint. Let me hover render. Okay, and this is the nose you all draw. Because you think your lines have like some sort of right to be here. Your lines are a symbol. They are not the actual form structure. They are not a sculpture. Believe me, it's not gonna work if you leave your lines on the image. Get them the hell out of there. And just trust in the fact that sometimes the cheek and the nose share very, very similar values. If there is a slight value change because of the light source, it is a very, very thin, it's a very light shadow with a very thick brush. Alright, what did I just say? What can you replace the nose shadows with? When I don't draw my lines, my drawing looks like a lot of colored dots blended. You want to know why that is, Raspberry? Because you're not sculpting. Because you don't know what to do with your edge. Your line is your edge. Your line was pointing to an edge. And the edge is what you don't know what to do with. So that's why it looks like when you turn off your line layer, it just looks like a bunch of blobs of color. That's because you weren't sculpting. You were depending on the line for the edge. And Shauna, don't get fired. I'll get you fired, I swear. God forbid. But when you turn off that line layer and you're left with those Raspberry, I'm talking to you. When you turn off your line layer and you're left with that bunch of color, just color blobs, try to see what your color blobs were doing with the line. What were your color blobs really depending on the line? And if you remove your line, can you clean up those color blobs so that they can seem like they're pointing towards an edge instead of a line? That's what a line is always trying to tell us. So what did you guys say? Light shadow with a thick brush. Good job. That's how you replace the nose shadow. Yeah, it's the sad truth. You can't stop laughing because it's so true. Lines are a symbol. Thank you, rectangle or centangle. The nose I draw. A dot. Michelle says you could always keep the lines on a separate layer and try and draw it without the lines, and then occasionally make the lines visible to check if everything looks good. Or you could turn the opacity of the lines down a little so it's less visible. That's true. Those are two very good choices. Just remember, if you want to replace the line completely, you have to replace it with some sort of unblended edge, because that's what that line is telling us. The good lines. If you guys are drawing noses like this, then you need to get rid of this. This just needs to go. There's no replacing this. But these, you can replace them with shades, meaning if this was the line drawing and you want to make a nose, and we'll get to the noses in a second, it means you have to, and this is what I'm saying, Raspberry and Wilhelm, this is how you replace your lines. You find that edge just like that. This edge right here, where these two colors are not blending, that is what your line was trying to tell you. It was a symbol. This is a symbol of a nose. This is not a nose. This is a symbol of a face. This is not a face. This is not a pipe, a cigar pipe. All right. So this right here is what you need to do. You need to find in your reference, and you guys should be working with references and building your knowledge. Try to find the edges. All right. That's the only way you'll undermine your dependency. So back to this. Took a little bit of a deviation. So before, after, before, after. Look at the halo of shadow around the lips. You had like this outline of light around the lips that you didn't need there, because the lip is part of the core shadow, the lower half of the face. You also had a really overextended and really, really careful painting of that lower eyelid. Your lower eyelids were all the way down here. She looked really tired, especially because the eyes are like half open. What you need to do from now on, whoever this is get your dark spots. right here. And then yeah, I'm not going to be able to paint it because I don't have time, so just abort. But get your dark spots, set them up, and then determine which is the darkest dark spot. Usually it's the eyes in portraiture. Sculpt the face first, sculpt the shape of the face, throw the core shadow on that's coming out of this main light source. Get the core shadow in here. And after that, you have to start shrinking your brush, and you'll know that shrinking your brush will mean that you're now painting the smaller things. So you never have to mistake the lower eyelid as one of the larger pieces of the face. The lower eyelid is not as big as the cheekbone, so you should not be painting it with a brush that is as big enough to take care of the cheekbone. So be careful with that next time. Now let's take a look at, for this one it's really, really quick. Beautiful painting, but you don't have any sculpting. There is no core shadow. You have an outline. You have some core shadow just around here on this half of the face, but what we need to do is make the face feel like, especially because it's such a dark image, it's such a dark place to be photographed, what we need are some shadows that represent that she's in a dark room. So this means some cast shadows. Oops. Right here and here. Just around there. And then a nose shadow, because that nose shadow that you have is just not enough. It's not complementing. What you guys see in photographs doesn't always look good in a painting. You need some longer shadows for it to be appealing, because you want to show off the proportions. And then I'm going to throw one big ass shadow right over the whole painting, and I'm going to erase only where I know there are light spots. So the tip of the nose is one of those first areas. The forehead, down towards the cheekbones and to the nose, the upper lip under the nose. A little bit on the waterline and a little bit on the chin. A little extra contrast. And a little bit under the brows. Right there. Make sure it's not too much. Also, over the eyebrows we'll have some slight illumination. This is reflectivity, this is thinking about texture. Alright, so let's look at the before and after. Flatten image. Before, really, really washed out. After, more sculpting. The face feels like it's emerging. It's like part of a light environment, and the light isn't so strong, so some areas are going to be in shadow. And does that not look more appealing to you guys? Remember, your core shadow is your basics. That's what I'm always saying. That's what I'm always talking about. Measurements, basics of form structures, all of that stuff. So let's look at this nose here. The noses you have are a little warped. What we need to see is enough space for all the parts. So when you sketch it, you should be sketching more towards signaling where the nostrils are. Good job in replacing your lines, by the way. Very, very good job. I don't see any line remnants in any of these. But the nostril should pretty much state the distance between the tip of the nose and the separation of the nostrils. So your line should end right there. Because remember, what is a line replacing? A line is replacing the edge. And so over here there's a line for the nostril. So this means that line represents the fact that the nostril is not attached to the face. Do you guys have nostrils that are attached to your face? Meaning attached too early? Meaning attached at this level? So yeah, it all eventually just, attaches to the face, of course. But it's not just attached right away. It has to rotate first. It has to kind of dip first. It kind of flares out. So that's where a line is supposed to be. Don't throw a line here because there's no lines here. Look what it made you do. So throw the lines only where you guys need them. So I'm going to adjust this nose right here and then do a nose critique, and that'll be that. Shrink that nose. See that nose tip was way oversized because that's what you were telling us with your lines. Alright, so let's take care of this. The area around the nose does not have to be a different color. It can just blend right into the background when you do these nose studies. I'm going to throw the nose shadow in. Now I shrink my brush and start sharpening areas that are edges that were once a line. This means that the nostrils, yes, that were once a line, have to be made a sharp edge. Just along this way. So, let me zoom in. Carry the shadow here. Carry it out along this way. Bring in the light on either side of the nose. Is this nose not starting to read to you guys? Is it not starting to make sense? And now what I'm going to do is just wash over the entire nose because I only need so much to be dark. And I'm going to throw in the dark spots. And if I do need to darken one more time, I can because now I know how dark I can go. Okay, so I don't want it black everywhere. I just want it to be blackest only where there is the deepest part of the nose. And voila! A little bit of extra core shadow. A little bit of light on this side here and this side. And that's a nose that's a nose. And that's a nose that we want to see in paintings. Alright, so at the line level, know where edges really are. If there's no edge, if there's no actual edge on the cheek, then don't draw a line there if you have to sketch before drawing. And if there is no edge at all anywhere near that object, then there is not going to be an edge when you paint it. There are edges on the face where we have things that stop, meaning like the nostril, it stops. Just stops. That's why my brush is not blending this shade and this shade. Okay? The cast shadow is sharper towards the beginning and smudgier towards the end. Alright? Let's see what everyone's saying. Are brushes even that important? I mean custom brushes. They're not. James, I don't know who it was. What was that other guy? He made a point of this by making a penis brush and painting a whole painting with a penis brush. Just he didn't have to use a penis. I mean, he could have used like something else, but he was trying to make a point, which is don't depend on a brush to do everything for you. The brush isn't going to make you a better artist. It's the knowledge that's going to make you a better artist. So no, brushes do not make you better, and brushes are not that important. I'm using a soft brush. All my critiques have been with the lamest brush known to mankind, which is the soft brush. It is the most boring of soft brushes, It is the boring guy at the party that comes in a cardigan when it's like a costume party, and it was clearly said that it was a costume party, but he comes up showing up with these like average casual clothes, and he has like vegetables and dip. I mean, that's like the most boring person ever. What you want is that person can make you paint better. Okay, this is not working. The brush is the soft brush is the lamest brush on earth, and I'm painting with it. So you guys can do it too. All right? Shit, I'm so tormented here. What is that? I have learned now more than so far in 2 years in art uni. So huge thank you. I have learned now more than so far in 2 years. Oh, you're very welcome. Penis brush, no cardigan. Looking for puns to make out of that. So let's say let's see what everyone else is asking. Where can I get the brushes you're using? I haven't even used new brushes. It's the soft brush. It's on Photoshop. Every Photoshop comes with it. It's in Photoshop, guys. I just use pen pressure and opacity and transfer, but that's it. That's also Photoshop ready settings. Yeah, Mimi is right. You can use brushes for certain effects to help with textures, but the important part is that you understand the values and edges and whatnot first. They can save time, but they won't help you if you don't have a solid understanding of everything else. Yes. I need some water, 1 second. Ista, an off-topic question. Nizanari asks, is the core shadow or the cast shadow darker? Depending on the light source, the core shadow and the cast shadow can be the exact same shade. Typically, in the 45-degree angle light that we always talk about, the light coming top down on the face, not top down exactly, but kind of in front of the face down, the cast shadows are lighter than the core shadows. So it just depends, actually. The nose shadow can be the exact same level. It can be darker than the cast shadow. It can be lighter than the cast shadow, depending on the skin tones. But typically, just to be safe, because I can't find enough references right now, make them the same level. Okay, Nizanari? Anyone recommend some free ways to get Photoshop? Need it for some side jobs and college classes, but too lazy to pay $18 a month for it. Go for it, guys. Recommend it. Do you prefer using an Intuos or a Cintiq? I'm not sure if these questions are directed at me. I'm trying to find some questions to answer because it's questions Q&A time. So, do you guys get everything with this? Do you guys get the point with the nose? So before, really, really warped. And then the line wasn't helping either because you didn't understand what the point of the nose was. This one is just really warped. I'm not sure. Maybe it was caricature noses. Still, even in the caricature level, we still need nostrils after. Yes. So that's really all that I have to say today, guys. Follow me on those links. Make sure that you stay connected to us if you want to stay with the class. Follow on Twitch as well. Don't forget about that. And have a great day. Bye-bye, guys.